a lot of people say, well, I know this really good person and they're going through so much and they're going through so much trauma and healing. And then here's this person that maybe I'm considering to be a bad person, but they have all this financial abundance and they have it so easy in life. So here's a couple things to be really mindful of. Hey, you guys, it's Alyssa Rushton. I'm the owner of the Divine Light Energy Healers Academy, and my life before my near death experience was completely different from what it is now. If you can imagine, instead of the person you see here before you right now, imagine somebody who was 240 pounds. I used a walker to get around. I had a PICC line in my arm, which delivers medication to your heart. I was on 28 different medications and I was really very sick. I had multiple autoimmune diseases and every day was really a struggle. One day it just all got to be way too much and I got so desperately sick and I started down this trail of Western medication and trying to heal myself through seeking doctors and medicine. So, how I died. Okay, this is just something that I love to talk about. So, as I was going down that Western medication trail, I kept getting more and more medication. And, at one point, they put me on end of life pain management and end of life sort of comfort care. And I'm talking fentanyl suckers and fentanyl patches, stuff that actually can kill you in just one dose. And if you walked into my house, there was all this signage everywhere for my caregivers saying, be careful not to touch these suckers and pain patches because it can kill the caregivers. So it was really caustic medication. And I was married at the time, and my ex husband would tell you that I was sort of riding the line between life and death many days. And it was just because I was so over medicated. And on this one fateful day, I had way too much medication and I wasn't feeling very well. And I went into the bathroom because that's where we go when we're not feeling well, right? We go to the bathroom and that's where I died. And I literally woke up on the other side. Imagine I'm dead on the toilet, right? Completely gone. But on the other side, I got sucked up into what I call God consciousness. You might call it universal consciousness or divine consciousness. You might call it light, whatever you want to call it. I got sucked up into this sort of tunnel and I didn't see the big bright white light. I didn't see all of that, but I did get sucked up into this infusion of divine intelligence, divine universal consciousness. And it was the most physical thing I've ever done without a body. I had this awareness that I could stretch my consciousness in a million different places at once. And the best way I can describe at one point as I was going up, up, and up, and up, and it was definitely a feeling of going up, right? I could see all of these millions. The best way I can describe it is like security cameras. It was little bubbles of movie images. And what they were is individuated people's experiences. So, all the billions of people on the planet, all the blades of grass, all the mountains, all the stars, everything. I could see all of these things and I could pull and move into each experience all at once. So literally, I was getting to experience everything on this planet and off this planet as itself. And it was a really incredible experience. Now, at the same time, I was experiencing an understanding of how the universe was made through sound and light. And I saw the sacred geometry that formed our solar system together. Now, one of the things that people always ask me is, well, were you greeted by family members? Did you see heaven? And one of the things I've come to understand since being on the other side is that our death experience is something that's individual and unique to each one of us. And it's actually designed so that you feel comfortable and calm and relaxed and have an easy transition. So for me, I didn't have any loved ones to meet me on the other side, and I didn't necessarily believe in the pearly gates. I didn't have that belief structure. I'm sort of a universalist. So it makes sense that I would have more of this universal near-death experience where I was one with the universe and one with all consciousness, and in really being able to see and dive into things and really have this awareness of how vast the universe was. I saw things that were off planet. I saw other beings, other sentient beings. I saw whole like races of blue beings and other beings that would even be hard to describe in our human words. It really advanced beings that had very etheric bodies, less physical bodies, and I got to see it all at once. And the best way I can describe my experience is that I was everything, everywhere, all at once. And that while I was exploring the bounds of the universe and the galaxies and the multiverses, because there's not just this universe, there's multiple universes. So I was exploring all that. And then at one point, I saw this little orb and it really attracted me and it looked a lot like planet Earth. And so I dove all of my consciousness down into this planet Earth. And all of a sudden, I was back on what looked like planet Earth. It really did look like planet Earth, except everything had sort of this olive green, olive drab color to it. It was like that army green color. The sky was army green, olive green. The people had this green tinge to them. And I didn't find out until years later where I was, but I'm here on planet Earth and I would go and visit people that I loved, loved ones who were still here, and I would hang around them. And I couldn't talk to them and I couldn't interact with them. But it was a very like a peaceful, calming feeling, and I felt very soothed and healed. And I realized later when I read a book by Savannah Arienta that I was actually in an etheric layer of planet Earth where people that have traumatic deaths go or maybe die from an overdose or suicide. And it's a very healing place. So I was there in this healing place. And all of a sudden, this group energy came to me, this group consciousness, and said, hey, do you want to stay here? Because if you do, you can't come back to your Alyssa body. But if you come back to your Alyssa body, it'll be the hardest work you've ever done, but it'll be worth it. So do you want to come back? And in an instant, I just knew, yes, I want to come back. And the minute I thought, yes, I want to come back, that's when it felt like somebody dropped me off 1,000-foot building and I slammed down back into my body. And I woke up, and that's when the paramedics had administered that first dose of Narcan, which blocks all the narcotic receptors in your body. And I was back. But I tell you what, it felt so hard and so heavy. And that's what I really learned, that being a human being is a very dense, heavy thing. And it comes with a lot of trauma because the vibrational difference between on the other side and being one with all that is versus being down here in the body is a vast vibrational frequency difference. Yeah, so people always want to know, how's my life changed after that? Did it change all at once right away, or what happened? And here's the thing I want to say is that I remember waking up in the hospital. I was strapped down to a gurney. My legs were flailing. My whole body was kicking around. Now, mind you, I had just moments before needed a walker to get around. Like I could barely move, but now I'm kicking and flailing my whole body. And I remember thinking, my life is broken. And what I'm doing is killing me. It's not working. And I remember also thinking at the time, had I died, I don't know who would have come to my funeral. I didn't have very many friends at the time. I'd been so sick for years, and it was really just my husband and myself. And I felt really sad. And I thought, I need to change everything in my life, everything in my life. And so that's what I went about doing, as I went about integrating the wisdom and the knowledge and the downloads I got on the other side into my life. And that was a 5-year process. A lot of people say, well, I know this really good person and they're going through so much and they're going through so much trauma and healing. And then here's this person that maybe I'm considering to be a bad person, but they have all this financial abundance and they have it so easy in life. So here's a couple things to be really mindful of. At the soul level, you have been many things. You have been a good person, you have been a bad person, you have been everything in between. And at the soul level, we are all here to learn lessons and support each other, walking each other home on planet Earth. That it feels like good and bad down here. But if you can imagine how on planet Earth, how we experience daytime and nighttime, but if you were to pull up your consciousness outside of Earth's atmosphere and go up into space, you wouldn't experience it as day and night, dark and light, good or bad. You would experience as all that is. And so here on planet Earth, we come down here to experience a bit of polarity so that it gives us a learning ground to work our skills against, so that we can learn how to be a good human, even in the face of evil or danger or oppression. How do we learn to be a good person? We learn to do it when we have that pressure of something different. How do we build the muscle? We put a strong weight in our hand. And the strong weight is oftentimes those people who mean us harm, is oftentimes the people that maybe aren't benevolent, but that is like a weightlifting class. And you know this when you go meet with your family, right? Your family is going to trigger you. So how do you learn how to hold unconditional love and compassion? You go spend a weekend around your family, right? And that pressure helps you build those mental, emotional, and physical skills to be able to hold more light, hold more love, hold more compassion, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Here on earth, we get to experience things in the physical, and we get a chance to really work at a physical level to create change. Now, if you believe that you're a divine creator, those changes become really easy. But if you are locked into the old paradigm, sort of the old way of thinking, that you can't really heal yourself, that you're stuck with the situation that is, and that you don't have a lot of say so about it, I tend to call that disempowerment mode or victim mode. By the way, I was there for many, many years, right? There's nothing I can do. I can't heal this. I'm stuck in this place. This is just what I have to deal with, right? Well, guess what? That the first thing is that's not true, is that we've been locked into a paradigm for the last several thousand years of separation. That's partly because of where we've been in the cosmos, and the lesson we've been learning at a galactic level is this lesson of separation. And it's a very hard lesson to learn, the lesson of separation. And now we're coming into a time when we're coming back into the lesson of oneness, and that remembrance that we are directly connected to source energy and that we can heal. But I will say that whether we're locked in separation and feeling like we're in victim mode and can't heal our traumas, or whether we're in the place where many people are at now, why we're doing that process is so that we can come back to the remembrance that we are divine beings and that we can shift our circumstances. And I believe we're here on earth to learn 3 lessons, okay? 3 lessons are physical mastery, emotional mastery, and mental mastery. So, what a better place to learn those 3 lessons, because after you pass on from the physical body and being human, there are other places that you can go explore with faster vehicles, right? Our human vessel is a very slow, dense vehicle. There are other places where you're creating instantly. You're literally the instantaneous thought that you have, you create it instantly. So, can you imagine if you didn't have that mental mastery to manage your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings, and you're accidentally miscreating things left and right that are negative, right? That are not positive for people and yourself because you're worried or you're in fear. Well, that's why we're here to learn some of this basic stuff. I call Earth third grade. So, technically speaking, that's where we are. We're in third grade trying to learn some of the basics about what it is to be a citizen of the universe. And, I will also say that we have a certain level of immaturity here on planet Earth when we look around at our governments, how we treat other people, how we still go to war to solve conflict, we're still at a level where we're not mature as a society and as a people. And so we're trying to get through some of those really basic level ways that we deal with things, and at higher levels of consciousness we're just going to deal with things differently. So here my belief is that we're here to master some pretty fundamental basics: emotional mastery, physical mastery, and mental mastery. And when we do, we won't actually keep cycling back to earth to keep learning these lessons again and again. You actually get to move on, get a faster vehicle. You might come back as a Pleiadian or an Arcturian or some other amazing advanced species outside of this universe as well. What we have to do is we have to remember we're the projection machine. What we see on the outside of us comes from within. So if we deal with a trauma of not feeling good enough and we sort of track it back and do some real healing work around that, we can actually shift what shows up in our world. And in fact, I teach a really simple technique inside the academy, and it's something that you can do right now. And it's a combination of clearing and affirmation and working with the body, because your physical body is what holds the trauma. And so you could even do something as simple as tapping on your high heart chakra up here, or your heart chakra, or your sacral chakra, or your root chakra right below your belly button, and simply say something like, I now am ready to release the feeling and the trauma of not feeling good enough. And I release it across all time, space, dimension, and reality. And you're going to start to tap on whatever that trauma is, start to tap it through the body. And we have these energy systems in our body that when we talk to our body and tap on our body, it allows that energy frequency to run and to process and to be felt and then healed. So there's a lot of different techniques out there that you can use for trauma healing, but this is one of my favorites, where we're working with all the layers of the body, the voice, the cells, the body frequency itself, and we're talking to the body and we're asking that trauma to release and clear from our system. And it actually is a pretty fast technique. People find a lot of relief with it very quickly. Something that people want to know a lot about is it just me raising my vibration that changes my reality? Is me raising my vibration going to help me have a better world? And the answer is yes and no. So here's the thing: you can have a super incredible high vibration, you can be this extraordinary being of light. However, we live in a beliefs based reality. So if you have a core belief, let's say, and I love this one because everyone could get this, it's around money. Let's say you have a really high vibration, you're a super high loving being, you hold a lot of light in your cells, and you're just always kind of walking around on cloud nine, yet you have the belief that you never have enough money because you learned it from your parents and they learned it from their parents, and there was a lot of money trauma in the family, then you will be this really high vibrational being of light, but what will happen is you will be in constant money lack. So is it your vibration? Your vibration dictates the level to which you experience reality, and your belief determines what you experience in reality. So if you're a really high vibration person and you have a belief that there's never enough money, then you're going to encounter that a lot, but you'll probably be mostly taken care of. And maybe, you don't have enough money to pay the rent, but some millionaire puts you up at their house or what have you, right? Because you're experiencing it up here. And if your vibration's a little lower, maybe it's the bill collectors are calling you, and maybe you're in a mountain of debt, and maybe you have to, file for bankruptcy or whatever it is, right? But it's our vibration that determines what level we experience reality at. And it's our beliefs that actually determine how we experience reality. So it's a combination. And I really feel like that's something that a lot of people who study the law of attraction, or maybe you've watched the movie The Secret, that's something that really wasn't explained. And a lot of people are just focusing on lifting their vibration. But what we actually have to do as human beings is we also have to take a look at the beliefs we hold. And you might be wondering, how can I know what beliefs I'm holding? You look at your life. What is showing up for you? Is it showing up for you that people in your life are joyful and sweet and kind? Then you probably have a belief that people really like you, that it's easy for people to enjoy you. Or is it that your boss is always mad at you? You probably have a belief somewhere along the line that you're not good enough at work. So we want to take a look at what's happening in our life and then see and ask ourselves a question: what would I have to believe in order for this reality to be showing up for me? What would the belief have to be? And then you can start to know what your beliefs are, and you can start to work on those beliefs, because beliefs aren't true or false. They just are something that you might have. And you can go in and shift those beliefs. You can choose to go in and install new beliefs. I've seen people, especially around health and wealth, go in and install new beliefs. My belief was that I was a sick person and I was showing up like a sick person. I was taking the medication of a sick person. And I knew that I had to change my beliefs at the level of identity. And so, one of the quickest ways to change your world not only is to raise your vibration, but also change your identity. So, who would you have to be in order to have the life that you really want? You know, if you want to be a runner, it's not just about buying the running shoes. You have to identify as somebody who loves getting up in the morning and running, right? If you don't love getting up in the morning and running, it doesn't matter if you have 10 pairs of running shoes, you're just not going to put them on. You're going to find every excuse not to do it. So, this is partially about re-identifying as something different than what we have been. And one of the best things I think we can do is to identify as a divine piece of light, as God in a physical body, as the divine in physical form. And when we realize that we really are a piece of the divine in physical form, then anything is possible, because we open up to the creative force that lies within each and every one of us. We are all so connected, but we do have to choose to believe that we are. So remember how important your presence here is at this time. Remember that this world would not be the same without you in it. You are like that cell phone tower radiating this frequency, and that the more love you hold, the more compassion you hold, the more you help your fellow beings around you entrain to that frequency. So I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being committed to doing the work. I'm so grateful to spend this time with you. And if you want to hang out with me, you can find me on Instagram at Alyssa Rushton. And by the way, that's Alyssa with just one S.